stuff, and I'm like, man, you can have that thing, buddy.
Right.
But we cried
didn't
when
end
we
up
sold
buying.
that place at closing, was because I poured, we pour everything into the
Right.
damn house, and it's like, man, it was a tough closing on that one.
They've done it much with that house.
They have, yeah, had the wall, the pool. They finally got the garage redone, which was nice. Time I couldn't get the rules. They did a nice job. The people now have done a great job on the house. Still haven't painted it though. And I still can't believe it still has those same colors.
You know, one of the things I didn't like about them.
Right. That's what my friend Brian Dermott sent you that. I told him to call. I know. He says he's not ready. He's going to Spain in September, and then he's going to seriously look. So he's got your number, and he'll call you.
I don't like as much as
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Vincent. I'm chairing the meeting tonight of the Planning and Zoning Board of Tarpon Springs. It's July 17, 2017, and it's now 7 o'clock p.m. We'll begin with a roll call.
Chairman Vinson,
Here?
Mrs. St. Arnold,
Here.
Mr. Parker, Mr. Seamon,
Here.
Mr. Hasse,
Here.
Mrs. Protos,
Here.
Mr. Terrapini,
Here.
Mr. Coiner,
Here. We have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for June 19 of 2017.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 19, 2017 as they stand.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. St. Arnold, second by Ms. Protos, to approve the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coiner,
Yes.
Mr. Terrapini,
Yes.
Mrs. Protos,
Yes.
Mr. Hasse,
Yes.
Mr. Seamon,
Yes.
Mrs. St. Arnold,
Yes.
Mr. Vinson,
Yes. Do you want to go with the next item on the agenda, or do we want to wait for Erica to come?
I can give the announcements when the speakers and then when she
The
gets
next
here.
item would be the quasi-judicial announcement and swearing in the speakers by the city attorney.
Tonight is a quasi-judicial meeting rather than a legislative meeting. At a quasi-judicial meeting, the board's job is to apply law already in place rather than to make law. At a quasi-judicial meeting, the board must listen to competent, substantial, and relevant evidence. If they hear competent, substantial, and relevant evidence and they follow the criteria, they are bound to go forward with it. Vice versa, if they feel that the evidence presented tonight is neither competent, substantial, relevant to the issues, then they shall not go forward. Is there anyone wishing to give any evidence tonight? If they could please stand to be sworn in.
Anyone who will be speaking, please stand and raise your hand.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So sworn. Does anyone on the board wish to make any ex parte communication disclosures?
See
Okay.
none?
Thank you.
I like it short and sweet. You're hired.
Item number 4 on the agenda is the application 1756, ordinance 2017-26, West Coast Word. The application requests a conditional use permit to allow a school of general education to be developed
I put it on
at the
there.
property located at 431 East Spruce Street in the Industrial Restricted Zoning District. And we'll begin with the staff report.
Just to correct that, was a typo on the thing. It's actually a resolution 2017-26. And with that, the approval of a conditional use, the request is to approve a conditional use to allow a school of general education to be developed on a property located at 431 East Spruce Street. The applicant is West Coast Word Church. They're also the owner of the property. The surrounding land uses, the majority of the area is zoned either residential or land conservation. However, this property and the property to the west are zoned resident or industrial restrictive. And with that, this property had previously had a conditional use on it for an adult daycare. This request is now changing that use, or requesting to change that use, to a private school to serve children between the ages of 2 and 6 months. Essentially, it's an existing building, and they're looking to change the configuration of the building, provide, the parking will remain the same, but to provide additional play area in the rear to support the school. The proposed use is subject to the conditional use review in the industrial restrictive district. Adequate parking is available to accommodate the use, and the use complies with all other development codes of the comprehensive zoning and land development code. The area contains a mixture of light industrial, office, and civic uses, and the proposed school is appropriate and is compatible with the existing and planned uses in the area. The conditional use of the property is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. The uses proposed for this location is within an existing building, and the site does not contain any resources of environmental or historical significance. The proposed conditional use is surrounded by compatible uses. The proposed use of the property will not affect adjoining property values. The use is proposed within the existing building and will not affect or impact nor exceed the capacity or the physical ability of the city to provide facilities and services. And the proposed use is located within an existing building in a predominantly industrial area. The use will not adversely impact upon the growth patterns or affect the cost of the city to provide public services. And with that, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2017-26 with the following conditions. The property is to be used as a school of general education. All other uses are subject to further review and subsequent approval consistent with the Land Development Code. And the conditional use will expire within 1 year of the approval if a building permit is not issued for the property. With that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. We're now ready for questions to the staff. Ms. Protos?
I asked the planning director, maybe my brain isn't processing this. It said current use of property on the application, private school. Is there a private school there already?
No, the current use is actually vacant. It previously had been an adult daycare facility, which there was a previous conditional use. Their proposed use is for a school.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
A school or a daycare facility? 2
The-
months old or not a school generally?
Then it'll be a daycare with a school. I mean, they're providing they're basically providing everything from 2 months up to 6 months. So, being that 2-year-olds aren't going to be going to kindergarten or doing that type of thing, they would be in a nursery, in a nursing, a nursery school or a daycare type setting.
Could you share with us the definition of a school of general education, if that's available?
School of general education generally is for those children who are of school age that are asking or being provided with education on a Monday through Friday schedule from usually 8 to 3 p.m. And generally, they're students of school age. In this case, they're asking to also have school children that are younger than that age. But however, daycare, I believe, is not allowed here. So those children that are less than school age children will have to be limited, and we can further limit that here in the conditions tonight.
I have a question. Were there any letters of opposition?
We did not receive any letters of opposition for this. We did have a phone call request to find out a little bit more information about the application. They wanted to know, was this basically going to be a high school or that type of thing, and that's not the case. It's for primary education.
Any other questions of staff by the board members?
Just going to ask a question about the noticing as well. Do you have to notice differently on a conditional use?
The noticing criteria is we post one of our yellow signs with the information, and then we also send out postcards to the adjoining property owners. In this case, there is no requirement in the Land Development Code for an advertisement in the newspaper. So that's what was done on this application.
Thank you.
Any other questions by the board members? And next, we'll go to hear from the applicant. If the applicant wishes to come and make a presentation or answer questions of the board. Yes, sir, if you will, when you reach the podium, please state your name and address, please.
My name is Jerry Fosnacht. I'm acting on behalf of Live Oak Property, or of West Coast Church. In this case, I'm here for the next one as well. The building was a adult daycare center with consultation, open spaces, a lot of restrooms, places to take people in, Meals on Wheels. So in reality, the building is set up very well right now to receive the children. There's classrooms already set up, and in my letter of introduction, the exiting is great. We had the fire marshal in. He was very happy with it. It's a fully sprinkled building. I would clarify that we are talking about children that are infants to the 5 and 6 year old, and each one of those has a separate classroom. Infants, 1s and 2s, 2s and 3s, 3s and 4s, 4s and 5s, 5s and 6s. And they are in a educational environment.
Has the Pinellas County License Board come out to look at your
Correct.
facilities?
We're in that process right now. So we've already had the inspection, and there's a few things that we need to do. We will come back in for building permits as soon as we know we have a zoning approval to add a couple exterior doors and some those kind of things. But the building is very well set up for it now. It's a great use for it.
And this will be open to the public because there's a great need for daycare.
Right, and daycare is, this is a niche where they're actually teaching staff on level. So it's not just a daycare, it's not a nursery. This is about educating the kids. So it hits a market niche that isn't met right now.
Approximately how many students do you expect to have?
The building will handle upwards of 100. So we're starting out with maybe 45 till we see how the market does go, but about 106 I think I counted. And that's based upon babies have to have 50 square feet per person. The kids have to have 35 square feet per
One
person.
teacher,
So
yeah.
it's a little bit larger spaces for the number of kids than you would normally have in a school. Correct.
And you have regular inspections once the students are there.
Correct.
Or-
Right.
Yeah, the Pinellas County License Board does.
Right. It's subject to all the criteria of the licensing board. Right.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
This time we'll go to the public, see if there's any comments or testimony by members of the public, either for or against the application. If so, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address. You'd have to come to the podium, sir, and be sworn, yes.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. State your name and address first, and then yes.
Cody Corbell, 517 East Spruce Street.
Your name again, I'm sorry.
Cody Corbell.
Okay, sir.
Just wanted to make sure that the plans didn't involve anything with the woods or the wetland area that's behind the neighboring residential area.
Okay. Heather,
There's a small area that's actually already open area that they're going to change it. They're going to be doing play area, but right now they don't have any plans to get into the wetlands or into the wooded area in the back at this point.
Okay.
They're not looking to do any of that type of thing.
That sounds good to me.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments by members of the public? Seeing none, we'll declare the public portion of the hearing closed, and the board will be open for a motion.
And just for the record, Chairman, the code does define schools of general education as a public, parochial, private school, college, or university, or a school for the mentally or physically handicapped, giving regular instruction at least 5 days per week, except holidays for a normal school year. So there's no age restriction on the code's definition of a school of general education. It's just a requirement that there be instruction given at least 5 days per week.
Thank you for reading that for us. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept application 17-56 and resolution 2017-26, request for a conditional use permit to allow a school of general education on the property located at 431 East Spruce Street in the Industrial Restricted Zoning District, IR.
Second.
Motion by Ms. St. Arnold, second by Ms. Protos. Does the motion include the staff recommendations, or did I miss that?
No, yes, it does, sorry,
Okay. So the two recommendations by staff are included
Yes.
in the motion.
yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Take a vote, please.
Mr. Coiner,
Yes.
Mr. Tarapani,
Yes.
Mrs. Protos,
Yes.
Mr. Haase,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman,
Yes.
Mrs. St. Arnold,
Yes,
Mr. Vincent.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. We'll go to our next item on the agenda. Item number 5, application 17-62 for resolution 2017-27 on behalf of Live Oak Properties. It's the request for a conditional use permit to allow a portion of the building to be used as a commercial recreation facility at the property located at 425 East Spruce Street. And we'll begin with the staff report.
Again, this is a conditional use permit to allow a portion of a building, an existing building to be used for a commercial recreation facility at the property located at 425 East Spruce Street. The applicant is Live Oak Properties of Tarpon Springs, and they are also the owner. The surrounding area on this particular property is actually mostly industrial restrictive, with a small area to the south that is R70A. And with that, the site for the conditional use is located within an existing structure that contains an existing commercial printing business. The use is to allow a fitness center that provides both indoor and outdoor fitness-related activities on the site. Patrons will arrive and depart at staggered time intervals during normal business hours from 5 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Parking for the two businesses will be shared, and adequate on-site parking is available to accommodate both businesses. The use is subject to the conditional use review in the industrial zoning district. The use complies with the parking and all other development standards of the comprehensive zoning and land development code. The fitness center is compatible with the light manufacturing business that is located on the same site, as well as the uses of the surrounding property. The use is consistent with all elements of the comprehensive plan. The use is located on a developed site that does not contain any resources of environmental or historical significance. The use is compatible with the area, and it will not adversely affect the adjoining property values. The use is located within the existing building and will not adversely impact nor exceed the capacity or fiscal ability of the city to provide facilities to the service. And the use is located within an existing building in a predominantly industrial area. The use will not adversely impact upon the growth patterns or affect the costs of the city in providing public services. And with that, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2017-27 with the following conditions. The property is to be used as a commercial recreation facility. All other uses are subject to further review and subsequent approval consistent with the Land Development Code. The conditional use will expire within 1 year of approval if a building permit is not issued for the property. And with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. The second condition of the staff recommendation requires a building permit. It's an existing building. What type of permit is it that we'll be needing?
Any changes to the internal portion of the building, they will subsequently, so if they're moving walls or outlets or any of that type of thing, they will have a subsequent internal renovation and completion permit. With that, they may want to restrike their parking lot or those type of things. We make those things available to the applicant at the time of permitting. So when those building permits are pulled, and in this case, there will be a internal renovation permit pulled, when that happens, that's when this conditional use will be activated.
Thank you. Any questions of staff by the board members? We'll go then to the applicant. The applicant or representative wishes to make any comments. Feel free to come forward, sir.
I'd be here to answer any questions you might have. I don't really have them.
Just for the record, go ahead and state your name and
Okay, I'm
address
sorry.
again.
Jerry Fosnacht, I'm with Live Oak Properties.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Any questions of the applicant? Pretty simple. Looks like it's well done. Thank you, sir. Have a seat. Any members of the public wish to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, the public portion of the hearing is closed, and the board is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the application 17-62 and resolution 2017-27 request for conditional use permit to allow a portion of the building to be used as a commercial recreation facility on the property located at 425 East Spruce Street in the Industrial Restricted Zoning District IR with staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Ms. St. Arnold, second by Ms. Protos to approve the application. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote.
Mr. Coiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrapini?
Yes.
Mrs. Protos?
Yes.
Mr. Hasse?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mrs. St. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes. Motion carries. That takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, staff comments.
Only comment I have is I just wanted to follow up on an email we sent. The August meeting has been moved to August 14th, and I'd like to thank everybody who's willing to do that. We have an applicant who really needs to go to BOC the next night because they weren't successful in making it to this meeting, and they're kind of getting to a point where they're heading up against their own individual deadlines. As a result, that meeting will actually not be in this room because there is a performance that night, so we'll be in the upstairs conference room. So just want to let everybody know today that we'll definitely be in the conference room, and it'll definitely be on the 14th at this point. Right now, I have one application. I don't know if there'll be another successful application to move forward. It may just be that one application.
Okay, thank you for the reminder and for letting the public know as well. Any board comments?
That's it.
Yeah, I have a comment. When we've met here before with Mr. Carr was here, we always mentioned about the bayou and the broken concrete and broken stones around the bayou, and mentioned that, you know, who do we talk to about maybe getting a sidewalk put in there or not? And I thought I'd bring it up because Mr. Terrapini's here tonight, and he used to be on the city council. So who would we talk to about that? Who do we bring that up to? Because, you know, that's really a headache.
My understanding, you know, 'cause I pay such close attention, is I think there was a presentation by somebody at the last Board of Commissioners meeting. I want to say Bob Robertson, who's like a new project manager of all projects basically for the city, who's definitely qualified to do the job. And I think he mentioned that there was some scenarios or some alternatives or scenarios, I suppose, multiple scenarios that the city could potentially is working on as a potentially selection or discussion among the community and the commission. Okay. Is that right, Heather? Do you have any idea?
I wasn't at the last board meeting, but I do believe that Bob is working on some alternatives at the request of Mr. Carr for something to happen out there. Now, that's one of those things that's like in the initial vetting process, and there'll be public hearings and that type of thing to kind of select an option if there's a viable option or a group of options out there.
Sure.
So I would stay tuned to the commission meetings and just check the agendas that are posted online the Friday before the meeting, so you can see if any of those type of things, or you could follow up with Mr. Roberts and find out if he's got anything specific. that
Okay,
could look
thank
at.
you. I'd
Just
just
for
like
cl-
to see it still in people's minds.
And you're talking about around Whitcomb Bayou where the large boulders, not the little pebbles.
Not local boulders either, but, yeah,
Imported, okay.
imported.
That's what I thought you were talking about. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, and again, congratulations to the Planning and Zoning Board for a very thorough background for us. Every meeting, I'll congratulate you on how good you do a job here for us. It's excellent.
Thank you.
You
Thank
and
you.
your staff. Excellent.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. It is now 7:25 PM.
That was a record meeting?
So, Anfield River Crossing,
That was a record
Harding
meeting.
Board side,
My own
you saw that?
for the last.
Spell jack time for me.
I will.
So I went inside, basically the 2 months, no elevator, which they said is obviously going to be better to get in. However, one of the other things noticeably right is
okay.
rooftop terrace. But
Thursday morning,
But-
thank you.
the ones that were built, 10 years ago or whatever, have
Now I
a
have
full,
a car,
like,
so I won't have to
4-car
drive that
garage.
thing anymore.
Which pretty cool. But on these, they made it like 3-car, and they held back that full car
thank
length
you. I
on the back,
appreciate
and
that.
made like a nice patio back there underneath the unit, which
Are you gonna take that
is a
with you?
no-brainer because your dock's there.
You might as well
You know
have
what I
it.
mean? Like that's.
Is it still going?
Once I started thinking about it, and I sat and I was there, I was like,
Thank
well,
you.
this is definitely as nice as the rooftop is.
You too. You have a wonderful night. I can't do this anymore.
I want to be like, if I'm grilling out and stuff, like it'd be nice to be able to walk out and stick a snook with my gig or, cast
This
a
isn't
light
that
or-
bad. I mean, I can almost walk on it without.
Golly, my
So
friend
there's
Costa's
that.
wife.
They don't have the rooftop, but they don't have the patio. They don't have the elevator, but I mean the
Oh my
finishes
goodness.
and the layout, but
Yeah.
forget about
Never
that
know.
because it's modern and it's beautiful. Nice
The other
big
one, I know
subway.
Brian was looking at ones, I think, close to down to Sponge Docks that have the elevator in them.
Yeah,
And
those
those Pete was selling those.
Yeah,
too.
that floor plan I don't like as much.
Yeah.
They're a ton of square feet, but it's like,
Yeah, it's a pretty strange.
here and there. You know what I mean? It's not. These
I'm
are like
trying to get
wide
him
open.
I want him to talk to you and get him, because he's got money to burn and he's ready to move here.
Needs to come to it.
I want to think your mango was delicious.
Well, I'll bring some more next time.
Absolutely delicious. It took a little while to
Ripen.
ripen, but it was excellent. Thank you.
They're huge. I mean,
Yeah.
now they're
They're
like
the
this